from a very high level, whatever you're comfortable with sharing, do you mind telling us a little bit about your income sources? Because a lot of people out there that are creating audiences or influencing for different reasons, have to find different ways to make income. Just curious from a high level, like maybe some of your sources that might help other people out.
Yeah. Well, one of my sources that I've had for a while now is I am basically I have two colleges in North Carolina, sometimes three, that bring me in as a trainer for their small business center. So I do monthly, if not more frequently, online courses. They pay me for that. That sometimes leads to the students coming to me wanting to work one on one. I actually have been hired by them during the pandemic. They got a special pot of money where they're actually paying me to do one-on-one time as a consultant to individual businesses. We do a Zoom meeting. I kind of go through their stuff. Um, the one that's becoming really bigger is the hybrid and virtual event meetings. Chris Stone and I are working together. We just did a virtual summit for the Jamaican Chamber of Commerce of Atlanta. It's called the Pow Her Virtual Women's Summit. They had over 200 people attend. We ran the whole thing from behind the scenes using a platform called Hoppin. We're getting ready to probably do another event for another group in November. It's called a USA Biz Party, and it's going to be another event, and we're going to actually get to speak as well. So we're going to have to kind of balance that out. And then, I've got a couple other organizations that are interested in us doing events for them. So that's where the money's really, starting to become a nice thing as well. And then even doing remote production, I've been able to establish a rate and do some remote production for some organizations where they want to be live like we are on video, but they don't want to have to worry about the tech and everything else. So that's really where I'm seeing the growth, and everything has definitely been on a nice positive slope upward. Things kind of went down a little bit when we all first, were kind of like, okay, what's going on? Is this going to be a couple of weeks? And then once it's like, hey, I'm perfectly comfortable, just like I'm sure you are, sitting in my house. I've got, fiber internet, and I can just keep moving forward. And then of course having the time to do the podcast. Really the idea behind the podcast with Launch Your Live is not only to help people start and get better at live video, but also to say, hey, you can hire us to consult you to help train you to become a better live streamer or start live streaming. So that's kind of another, you know, if you want to call it pivot. And then of course, and then the other starting upstream, if you want to call it, has been really becoming an Amazon influencer with Amazon Live. And because basically if people buy products through watching the show, we get a very small commission. Doesn't charge you any more on your Amazon product, but that's been fascinating because it's like really understanding the dynamics of selling through video, because sometimes I think we feel funny, and we really, Chris and I do, is we really do make it educational. We had Jennifer Watson on from the Weather Channel talking about like things you want to do to weather the storm, and everyone's like, oh, here's a flashlight you might want to buy, or here's a thing you can track the weather with. And but it was fun. It wasn't just like, oh, let's just keep talking about items for sale. We actually make it into a conversation, because I think and that's the other thing, right? You start to study, it goes back to, right, study successful people if you want to get better. Doesn't mean you have to copy them, but it does make you think about, or you see something that you think is bad, and you're like, okay, this is how I could do this better. So I think it's learn. My biggest thing is, I mean, I'm in my mid 50s, and I have a lot of my peers, like, they won't touch technology. It's like, but this is the future, so you can either embrace it, or you're going to get left behind. And so I think, you know I think I can't remember who said it, but it's kind of like if you once you stop learning, you start dying. And so I think it's so important that we keep learning, educating ourselves, educating others. Because I mean, the world in the last few months has changed, and it's kind of one of those. It's not going to change back. It's and I don't necessarily like the term the new normal, but we always have change anyway. I just think certain change has accelerated. I mean, the virtual, whether it's virtual meetings, hybrid meetings, I think that's going to become like the norm. I think that, and not even necessarily. Let's say, as an example, vaccine comes out in 6 months from now, companies are going to say, well, you know what? We don't need to have everybody work out of this building. They prove they can be responsible working from home. Now we don't have all this overhead cost, so now they can increase the bottom line, and traffic maybe isn't as bad. And so everybody, in a sense, can win in the big picture. So I think now you have to look at it from our perspective like, okay, so now what can I do to help these businesses succeed? Because there's they're so busy doing their day to day, they don't realize all the changes that are happening, even with platforms. And so, you know, I mean, I have people even now. I mean, Instagram TV has been out since 2018. I'll go into class and say, "Who's heard of Instagram TV?" And they'll be like, "What? Never heard of it." And so I'm sure LinkedIn Stories is going to be the same way.